joining me on the podcast and on video, it's John Meyer, mining analyst, partner at SP Angel. You all right, John?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Do you like my banners behind me?
Oh, they're lovely, Justin. They are lovely.
They arrived in the post this morning. I'm going to the Master Investor Show next month, which is the 29th of March, Saturday in Islington. I got a little stand there, and so I had to get some banners. And so I got one there, Shipping's Investment Club, and also my book. So they're a bit too big to put in the background here, but you get the gist. Anyway, John, so I don't travel much out of the house. I may have to go to London now and again, or walk the dog. But you've been traveling, haven't you?
Yeah, we went down to the mining conference in Cape Town. Then from Cape Town, we travelled up to Zimbabwe, where we went to see Kavango Resources just north of Bulawayo. Then across to Harare to meet with a bunch of mining guys. Then we flew up to Livingstone and drove from Livingstone in Zambia up to Choma. Then we drove again up to Lusaka. Unfortunately, the taxi we were taking managed to break a cam belt on the way. But, weirdly enough, problems get resolved very fast in Africa. We managed to get another taxi to take us for, another 3 hours up to Lusaka within half an hour. So, it's amazing what a fistful of dollars can do.
Yeah. And when you say driving, when you're driving in Africa, I mean, the scale of distance is a lot bigger than when you drive in the UK, because we think, in the UK, I remember being on, when I did a working traveling thing when I was younger, and I met up with guys from Australia and stuff, and they think nothing about getting in the car and driving for 7-8 hours. I think, we think 2.5 hours, 3 hours is a pain in our country, but I suppose Africa would be the same. How long were those car journeys?
Well, it's a very difficult, it's a very, very different experience. There are almost no traffic lights. There are very few road humps. There's none of this congestion charging rubbish. It's very easy driving around Africa. The thing is, you have to dodge the odd massive lorry. But so long as you can avoid the lorries, it's much more relaxed. It's much more interesting. So you can't compare driving in Africa with driving in the UK. Driving in England is just a hassle. There's too many people getting in the way. In Africa, as long as you dodge the lorries, it's quite different.
But so how long would that take? How much would it cost in a taxi then to do that kind of journey?
That was about $100 to do about 4.5 hours from Choma to Lusaka.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? We need that. Yeah. Do you imagine doing that in a black cab?
And you know what?
It'd be $1,000 at least, more than that probably.
And they're very happy to get the fare. They're not complaining. It's not like a black cab, complaining about the cost of living.
Yeah. It'd probably be more than, if you did 4.5 hours in a black cab, it probably would be close to £1,000, isn't it? Probably 10 times the price. Yeah.
At least. So I worked out that when the timing belt went on this guy's car, I gave him a few dollars to, shall we say, for compensation, so he could get his engine fixed. And then when talking to the next taxi driver, I figured out I gave him $40. The next taxi driver reckoned it would cost about $35 to fix the car and tow it into the garage.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
and that would definitely cost you at least 10 times that in the UK, if not 100 times.
Yeah, and you said apparently we have a listener in Zimbabwe. Is that right? Is it Zimbabwe?
Yeah, there was a guy in Harare said that he listened to your podcast. He found it very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm massive in Harare, I am, for some reason. Not in the UK, but I'm like a pop star out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, at least it travels well. Okay, let's talk about obviously, we can't avoid gold. It's a phenomenal rally it's had. And I was saying this for a long time. We're saying that it was, let me just share the screen. I said, it's going to go over 3,000. You said that. And we said, and if you look at it now, it is heading towards what we're at. I mean, this is futures here, but I mean, there's 3,000 there, the line there, and we're now at 2,949. So $51 an ounce away from that $3,000 mark. And I did actually nick your notes, Don. I did do a daily podcast, and I did say to people, sign up to SP Angel's morning notes. Very good, lots of detail in there. talking about gold and why it's headed high and all this stuff and revaluing. I don't understand. They're going to revalue it. Are they? They're going to revalue the gold in the Federal Reserve. The last time that happened, apparently, in 1973, gold went up by 180% over the next 2 years.
Yeah, I don't think they've taken a firm decision on that yet, but we suspect Donald Trump is quite keen to do it. And I've got the feeling that Donald Trump is more than likely to get his way. And then that way he'd be able to borrow more US dollars to build the things that he's planning to build and to fund the tax cuts that he wants to bring in, because he wants to reduce federal taxes to zero if he can. Can you imagine that in the UK? Can you imagine the British government reducing income tax to zero? It would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, what I don't understand is well, if you do all corporation tax, all business tax, all that stuff, our government doing the opposite. You know, they don't understand how business works. You know, if you load lots of costs and regulation on businesses, they don't grow, they don't employ people, they do the opposite. They lay people off. So what you get is less tax take. You get less people with money in the spending in the economy, and so if you stimulate and encourage, and incentivize business by lower taxes, then they will employ more people. They grow faster, and so it just makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, it's crazy. I think it's obviously Rachel Reeves had never had a real job. In fact, she had one real job, and I did say, she'd never actually experienced challenges of a real business. The only challenge she had, it seems, was getting her expenses put through at HBOS. That was the biggest challenge she had, I think. But you can tell the difference between someone who's actually run a business, like Donald Trump, and someone who's worked for the state all their life, like Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer,
Sadly, Rachel from accounts is learning that if you don't have growth, you don't have a lot of tax coming in.
No, I know anything. Gold, what do you reckon? Where's it going, John? I did look at it last time. I had a breakout right at the I don't know where it went up 50% last time. Last time I had a breakout, and that would point to like around about 3,200. This on this breakout, because last time I had a big breakout. When was that? I did measure it somewhere, but it's good. In your note, you do say that there are central governments, countries buying. China is one. Who else is there? Somebody else in Poland are buying. And some people are buying gold, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to sell gold right now, and there are quite a lot of people who want to buy more of it.
And that's the market, isn't it? It's like
that is the market.
Stocks and shares. If people are holding on to their shares and just people want to buy them, it's market 101, supply and demand. If there's lack of supply and you can't get gold out of the ground as fast as you'd like, then people are not selling it. There's lack of supply, then people are buying it. Demand goes up, the price keeps going up. And the thing is, the momentum behind that, it's self-fueling, isn't it? When people hear this, gold hit all-time high, people are like, "Oh, I'm going to buy some gold ETF or something," and all of a sudden you get more demand, and so it carries on.
Yeah, pressure is on the upside.
Yeah. Okay. It seems to me this is quite interesting. Trump, he's slagging off Zelensky, saying he's a dictator, failing to suggests that Putin isn't. Like what? Yeah, Putin runs elections. Yeah, he always wins them. Amazing. But obviously, Zelensky's in a wartime, which you don't generally call elections in wartime. And I'm thinking, if you look at it, it seems to be just a play on my earphones coming up. It seems to be a play on resources. It's a deal again. He's trying to strike a deal with Ukraine over the resources, natural rare earths and all that stuff, isn't he? It seems like he's trying to talk them down. He does this all the time. He threatens big tariffs. It's just a negotiating ploy. And it seems this is what the case is with Ukraine. I don't know are you aware of what any resources Ukraine have?
Justin, the Americans always want to get their money back. When the Americans came into World War II, we had to issue war bonds. And we only just in the last 10 years we only just paid it off. When the Americans went into Iraq, they made Iraq pay for rescuing them. And many Iraqis, in fact, were hugely grateful for the Americans kicking Saddam out of power, and they made them pay in oil. The Americans always want to get paid. In this case, they're saying they need commodities, they want rare earths, they need stuff, they need the ores that used to go into Russia, and they need them because China is actually working its way up to massive restrictions on rare earths and other commodities. China wants to keep those things at home. They're using it as a bargaining chip, and America is going to have to find those commodities from somewhere else. So So getting them from the Ukraine seems like a fair deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
But the thing is,
Ukraine's not going to use that stuff right now. It's as simple as that.
no, and he is quite inaccurate though. He's saying that we've given them money, and Europe has given them a loan. Now, apparently, it's not as a grant that Europe has given them. So that's, I mean, to a certain extent, you would think, you know, when you base it, I mean, it seems quite sort of, sort of inhumane, really. But when you base it on financials, it sort of works out because you say, okay, yeah, we will help you. Of course we will. But listen, we haven't got an endless pot ourselves or a bottomless pot here. But if we give you, loan you money and then we take part in the rebuilding the country, we'll support you all we can. And I think that's what just Trump wants to do. He just wants to get his money back and have a deal where he says we've earned money out of this and we've helped them. But that's why he's talking down Zelensky to put pressure on him for him to strike a deal with them to get some of their rare earths or whatever they need or resources. That's all he's doing. I mean,
Justin, remember, it's not just Donald Trump. There is a big team of Republican politicians and economists behind Trump. Trump is a natural-born property developer. He will always look to go in that direction. But remember, it isn't just Trump. Trump creates the rhetoric and maybe some of the statements that one shouldn't necessarily listen to. But there is policy behind Trump, and it's not just Trump creating that policy.
So, yeah, some of the things he's saying now are Trump because they're insane. That thing about Gaza, just creating this sort of Riviera in Gaza. We'll just move out 2 million people.
Well,
So
that
just saying,
is the property developer in Trump, isn't it?
yeah, I know, but he just completely misunderstands. He just thinks it's quite simple to do that. The complexity of what is ethnic cleansing, pretty much. But he's just saying, no, we'll just clean out, make it a nice Riviera resort. It's like just saying, oh, what we're going to do is, Scotland or Wales, say, just move the people out of there and create a nice golf course. It's not that simple. You can't just treat it like an apartment block in New York. It's not as simple as that. Anyway, so rare earths, like you say, the Chinese are hoarding them. So the Chinese, they don't have so much rare earths. They're more processing them, do they? Or what happens in China?
Well, China controls most of the world's processing of rare earths. It's something over 90%. There's a bit of processing in the US. There's some processing in Vietnam. But there needs to be more outside China because China is now moving to take full state control of all rare earth materials going into China as well as coming out of China. So they're going to control everything down to the last gram of neodymium and praseodymium, dysprosium, lanthanum, and the rest of the suite of rare earths. And so let's say you're a Western producer of rare earth oxides, or rare earth concentrates, and you want to sell those into China, they're not going to let you do that either. So they are taking full control, and this is very concerning because rare earths are really important for permanent magnets. They're important for electric vehicles. They're important for missiles and rockets. That they are so important to the efficient functioning of electric motors and the stuff that depends on them, and guidance systems, et cetera, and China is saying we're going to control this. So there's the only option, I think, for the Americans and for the West. I mean, not just the Americans, for Europe as well, is to build refineries that will be paid for by the state, and will process these materials not necessarily for free, but at subsidized prices, so the West can have availability of these materials. So I think anyone who's got a rare earth mine is going to need to latch onto this as these new projects are developed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So in the UK, which companies are listed that
in the UK, Mkango, which we act for, and Rainbow Rare Earths. They're the two critical companies.
Okay. Let me just get your thing here. So Mkango. Yeah, so what do they changed their strategy a little bit recently, didn't they? They've focused on.
They're looking at rare earth recycling, and they're working on a bankable feasibility study for a new project in Poland. Now, okay, Poland's a little bit close to the front line, but once they've got that recycling project up and running, it shouldn't be too big a jump to go onto the processing of rare earth ores. So they've got the expertise. They have the technology, and they also have a project in Malawi, this Songwe Hill project there that, again, could be brought online. It looks uneconomic at current levels, I suspect, But if somebody's going to process that material at a subsidized rate, then the economies will come through, and that suddenly that project could be workable again.
Yeah, yeah. That line there, the share price has risen nicely recently. I'd say that break of the 8p level was quite a significant level because you see it on the chart there, trying to break that 1, 2, 3, 4, and it broke it on November, and then came back, found support there, previous resistance support, 8p, and it's gone up again. Nice series of higher highs, higher lows. So it's looking good. In fact, back there was previous support as well, 8p. So it's coming down a long way, but it's starting to rally now. Found a bottom and rally nicely. And what else did you say? There was Mkango. Who else is there? Rainbow.
Rainbow Rare Earths, yeah. So they have the Palabora project in South Africa. In fact, there's another project, similar project in Brazil where they're involved. This is for the processing of gypsum residues from phosphate mining or phosphate processing. And these gypsum residues contain rare earths. They're partly processed, and they've figured out the first stage of processing to create a rare earth concentrate. And now they are working on the upscaling of technology from Florida. So they're using a group called Micron in Johannesburg, who I have great respect for. And they can work out how to upscale that and turn it into, I think, what should be one of the world's cleaner and better rare earth refineries.
Okay, okay. What's next? So, Kavango. Did you say you visited those?
Yeah, we went to see Kavango just north of Bulawayo. It was a pretty hot day when we were up there.
How
Lots
hot?
and
How
lots
hot
of.
was it?
What's that?
How hot was it?
Well, something over 30 degrees. I reckon it was closer to 40 degrees. So having come from the UK, that felt
Yeah,
hot.
yeah, it does. I mean, it's amazing because we've had. I mean, this week it was supposed to get a bit milder. It has, but it came with rain yesterday. But yeah, it's been cold for a while, isn't it? So when you go from like 0 or sub 5 degrees, and you go to 30, and you realize it's not coming, or even close to 40. So when it gets up to 40, when it gets a bit above you, then the air around you is above your natural body temperature. That's hard. You can't cool down, can you?
Yeah, no, it felt quite hard. But, that's the job we're in. We have to go and, kick the tires and look at these things. They've got 4 prospects at what's called Hillside. And I think they're going to get an open cast mine out of this. And I think they're going to get an underground mine out of it. And it's just a question of assaying the drill results. Lots of drilling has been done, and lots of drilling is ongoing. And when they figure it out, hopefully they'll deliver us some good news and some proper mine plans. In the meantime, they're working in conjunction with the local miners. So the locals do very simple processing. They take the fine free gold that comes out. They capture that in a sort of gold bearing sludge or within carpets. Now, if you remember your Greek history, Jason and the Golden Fleece. These guys are not using fleeces, but they're using carpets. So what you do is you then burn the carpet and you get the gold out. Kavango then.
So how does that work? What do you mean? Where do you put the carpet? Just another. Oh.
Well, what you do is you crush the ore, and then
Yeah.
you use a water sluice to sort of separate the heavy stuff from the light stuff. So you're creating a sort of heavy concentrate with gold in it. That then the heavier material catches into the carpet. You burn the carpet and you get your gold out. Years ago, I mean, the Greeks and the Romans did it with gold and did it with sheep's fleeces. That had the added
didn't burn the sheep,
benefit.
did they?
Yeah, well, it had the added benefit. You ate the sheep and then you used the fleece. Now, clearly not the vegan option these days. That's probably why they use carpet.
Yeah, that's amazing because I remember years ago. Do you remember Little Chef? You say go to Little Chef and you eat all your food and you get a little lollipop at the end. With that, you eat the sheep and get gold. It's nice.
Indeed, indeed. And then Kavango take the gold that the locals can't recover. So they use a cyanide solution and they extract it using modern technology, although in a fairly rudimentary manner. And I won't give you the exact split on how much they get, but shall we say it's a good earner.
Why did it come off so hard? They were at 1.5, 1.6p a share back in July last year, and now we're down at 0.715. What's happening here?
I think that's just the state of the market. They've
Yeah.
no, I think. Look, I think this stock is well set. I do own some stock in this company. I should declare that, but we are not acting for them at this stage.
Okay. Next, Power Metals. What's happening there?
Yeah, they've been busy, boys. They sold a chunk of stock in Guardian Metals, and I think they sold £9 million worth, and they still have another £8 million in there, and they're using that to fund exploration for uranium in Saskatchewan in Canada. And we know the world's going to need a lot more uranium because the world is looking to build a lot more nuclear power plants, and we know in America.
I know how sentiment's changed, isn't it? Do you remember you go back a few
Yeah.
years and no one wanted to touch nuclear powers, and now all this talk is about, modular and all that sort of smaller reactors, and it's cleaner and faster and efficient. And yeah, so uranium is the place. So where, apart from Power Metals, are there? There's also, isn't there? What's the Geiger count? It was Geiger. I mean, isn't that?
Well, there's a fund called Yellow Cake,
Yellow Cake. That's right.
which just holds pure uranium or uranium yellow cake. So that investors can look at that. But if you want exposure to uranium exploration,
Why has that gone down so
then
much?
Power Metals is a good stock to look at.
I did look at this the other day, Yellow Kit. Actually, I remember seeing. Why is it down so much? It's like it's a high on back in Feb 24 year ago. It was at 740 a share. It's now 450 a share. So why is this? You think of it, maybe it's rallied strongly recently, is it? But why is it
We
come down
we
a lot?
we see it as an opportunity, but we do act for the company.
Yeah, no, I don't mean yellow. I mean Yellow Cake has come down. I suppose it's back to now where it broke out at. That's
The uranium prices were a bit higher. They pulled back.
okay.
I think not for there have been some stocks of uranium in the world that have come out, but we can see the demand exceeding the available supply.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's power. I don't know what's happened to my charts. They're on delay. I don't know where the feed's been sent from, but it's like they're taking ages to load. Yeah, so it's literally in a messy bit of a range there, Power Metals. Like they're not far off recent lows at 14.2. Okay, next, let's go with Tertiary or Solgold?
Well, let's talk about tertiary because I was up in the area where tertiary are drilling quite recently. In fact, we went to see Moxico, Prospect Resources, and Midnight Sun up on the copper belt in Zambia. In fact, we had an interesting moment when when you're driving, Justin. Do you use Google Maps or Waze, or what do you use?
Yeah, Google Maps. Yeah.
I've always found Waze to be extremely reliable, but in Zambia, Waze decided to take us through some back streets, and then the back streets turned into grassy tracks, and then the grassy tracks got taller and taller, and then somehow we found ourselves wedged between a tree and a big earthen bank, thanks to the guidance from Waze. Fortunately, at that point, we got to about within 50 yards of the Mimbula mine at Moxico, near Chingola, and we were rescued by the mine manager who sent a bulldozer around to come and dig us out.
Well, that's odd, isn't it? So yeah, no. Do you have to pay for Waze?
No, it's free, but it's look, in the Western world, it's a great service, and
Yeah.
in Zambia, I would be a bit more careful with it.
Yeah, I suppose so. You've got to use. I suppose Google has the pretty much the world covered, isn't it? So yeah, that's a bit worrying. And do you have a guide with you, or you just going off sat nav?
We were just using the sat nav, but I had a geologist and an investor with me at the time. But so the investor was doing the driving, but he claimed to have been on an off-road driving course. But I'm not so convinced.
Yeah, an off-road driving course in I don't know, well, in Hampshire or Suffolk is a bit different to off-road in Africa. So yeah, but that's a bit worrying. Is you're taking down these areas, you have no idea where you're going. It's very scary, isn't it? Because you could end up anyway. Yeah,
Well, not really. The African bush it's not that much different from driving around Richmond Park, to be honest.
Oh, that's nice. We'll just go to Richmond then. It's closer. Okay, Tertiary Minerals there, and Solgold.
So Tertiary Minerals are drilling at their project near Kitwe, and Cobalt, in fact, Cobalt Metals are their joint venture partner who are drilling this particularly deep hole. They're at 2,600 meters, and they've discovered a particular geological formation that hosts copper. And in fact, below that, they're looking for another formation. So they're going down to 3,000 meters, which I think will be the deepest hole on the copper belt. So it's all very interesting because Cobalt Metals are using artificial intelligence to try and figure out the geology of the copper belt in Zambia, and then make the next big discovery. And you never know. I mean, if you roll the dice enough, you'll find a good discovery.
Yeah, and also good thing in artificial intelligence is that if they don't strike, the head geologist, whatever, it's not my fault. We trust the AI. Don't blame me. There's no one to blame, is it, apart from the robot? Okay, so Solgold, what's happening there?
Well, Solgold, it's interesting because it's the most enormous copper gold project in Ecuador. And with gold prices rising so much, the economics of the Solgold Cascabel project become all the more compelling. So these guys have been optimizing the project. They recently brought more money in using a gold streaming arrangement, and that's paying for the bankable feasibility work. So, in my view, the higher gold goes, the more value Solgold has.
What is the market cap of Solgold? It's about 197 million. Of course, it used to be a lot bigger than that, didn't it?
Yeah, it's come off because it's a big capex project, and you had BHP and Newcrest in there, who are still big shareholders. The project kind of got put on ice when the copper price pulled back and the gold price wasn't so high. People were saying, well, we're not quite sure when this is going to get developed. Now that copper is rising and gold is up near $3,000 an ounce, suddenly Cascabel looks like a much better project again.
Yeah. Let's put an alert on that, see what happens there. I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm going to put an alert on that. When it crosses 200-day moving average, I'll get a notification there. Okay, and finally, how is your Orosur?
Well, Orosur, they've drilled some very interesting holes recently. Now they're all quite closely spaced, and they show some fantastic intersections of gold. Now what they need is to bulk up the deposit a bit. So they're looking to the north to see if they can find some more areas where either this particular deposit extends to, or they need to just find another maybe a parallel type resource discovery to add to it. At the moment, it doesn't look like they've got quite enough to make a mine, but you know what? It wouldn't take much more discovery to turn this into something really quite interesting.
Yeah, and how much do you need to make a mine?
Well, in this case, I think they need something over 500,000 ounces, maybe a bit less, maybe 300,000 ounces to actually start to develop a process plant and a plan to start mining.
Yeah. Did you hear the talk about Glencore maybe delisting from the UK?
I don't think that's going to happen. Certainly not in the short term. Certain people within Glencore, I think, are concerned. They're looking. Some of these guys, I think, are looking for an exit. They want. I think Glencore insiders are, shall we say, keen. Maybe some of them, I think, are keen to cash out, and I think they're looking for better valuations. We know that everything in America is more highly valued than everywhere else in the world. Now, moving to America it's not necessarily that easy. For example, Moxico, which I visited last week, they're private at the moment. I believe they're looking at a New York Stock Exchange listing, and at the moment, being listed in London feels unpopular and unloved. But these things can change.
Yeah. You can see that the share price is pretty much at. Wow, it hasn't been this low since September 2021, Glencore. So so maybe that's why they're whinging about it, I suppose.
It's always an opportunity.
Yeah, well, Okay, marvelous stuff. And thanks. Oh, by the way, do you know what? Having done a rain yesterday, I've been ill, so I'm looking a bit scruffy. I'm finding it hard to shave because my nerve endings are very sensitive. I had shingles this week, And I've still got shingles. And like I said, I had to go to the doctor, a female doctor, which is annoying because it's all down my leg, this little blisters and rash up to my right buttock cheek. I had to pull my trousers and pants down to show her, which is not very dignified. But I was feeling quite rough yesterday. It was tipping down with rain. And then a guy came along, right? We got a septic tank. We never had that. We've only just moved here last June to empty our septic tank. So I was quite sorry for myself. And I was standing next to this guy, with this big pipe sucking out what the family doesn't need, And I was thinking, this is literally a crap job. I thought, do you know what? I'm thankful when you feel sorry for yourself. Think there are people out there with jobs that you wouldn't want to do, traveling house to house, just taking stuff from them that no one wants. But here we are. It's a job though. And as I say, there are people out there who'd love his job. So there's always a silver lining, John, isn't there?
Well, where there's muck, there's brass, but maybe not the metal kind.
No, well, I did look close enough. Didn't see any brass, but there we are. I didn't want to look too close because the smell wasn't that good. But there we are. Thanks,
So, Justin,
John.
Justin,
Yeah.
is it true that when you showed the doctor your shingles, did she give you a little prick?
Well, she said something similar. But marvelous stuff, John. Thanks for that. Speaking next week.
Thank you, Justin.